Looks like WPMarshall is also streaming. So if you want to see the game from his perspective, then you can actually go to WPMarshall's channel and follow it there, but I don't know what his channel is by heart. Then again, if you go to the main menu of Planetary Annihilation, you generally can see all the Twitch streams that are going on, so you could go check it out there. So Deadlystrike here, spawning in orange, going for a pretty standard opener with metal. Yeah, pretty standard opener for Metal Void as well, going metal, power, and then the factory. He's going to go in air factory first. We've got only 2 metal, 1 energy factory, and then the third metal. So the third metal is going to be slightly later for Deadlystrike here. For WPMarshall, rather. And it's going to be a land factory for... Oh, so much movement for the commander. You want to keep the movement for a commander to a bare minimum in the early game. So yeah, now he's moving all the way back here to build a power plant, and then he's going to be moving again to actually construct that vehicle factory. Oh, he cancelled it. Yeah, it looks like he cancelled it. So more power being queued up here for the WPMarshall. The air factory now finished for a Master Void, and he's going for firefighters first, so he knows exactly what's going on. Now he's at a distinct disadvantage, not just because he's playing on his own, but because he spawned in right between 2 enemies that he has to play against. So he could have spawned on this side of the plant and been totally fine, but now he has to contend with 2 sides that will be attacking him constantly. We have a vehicle factory now being constructed for Deadlystrike, and fabrication bots are coming out of the bot factory for Marshall. Void now building additional air fabbers, which is the only option he currently has because he's on water. He could have gone for a naval factory first, but naval factory would have been useless if he was up against anything land-based. Like this base in here is relatively deep in land. There's no way that his naval ships could get here in northerly fashion. It would take ages. Well, they can't even get around because this is landlocked. So it's actually the best thing that he could do, go air in this case. We now have a naval coming down from Marshall, and this is definitely going to be quite a threat for the base that Master Void is trying to establish. Master Void now going for his own naval factory. His economy is looking rather good. He's supporting it rather easily. He's now only getting his metal spots, building additional power with these air fabbers here. He's not using his commander because that commander is working on the naval, which is something he really needs. We have the first naval fabber up for Marshall, and let's actually check what Void knows at this point. Void knows about this base. He knows that there's a naval factory under construction. He also knows about this base and that there was a land factory under construction. Does it look like? No. Marshall has no idea that there's a base here. Deadlystrike has no idea that there's a base here, so essentially the only one with any intel about his enemies is at this point Master Void. Void now going for the Orca. The Orca, a very good choice if you want to do bombardment, and an even better choice if you're up against more naval. It looks like, yeah, the base has finally been scouted here, and first Orca has probably been scouted as well if he was paying attention to the scout. If not, then all he knows is that there's a naval factory here. So a second Orca now under construction. No AA being produced as of yet. The only AA that's here is the commander. And of course these hummingbirds. Sandwich, I don't know what sandwich means, but I assume Void does have some clue as to what he's saying. We have a number of Inferno tanks now moving out for Deadlystrike, although those Inferno tanks don't have enough range to be any threat to this base. I mean, the range is not enough. The Orcas are now moving out and attacking... Yeah, a sandwich, that's what he wanted to say. So the Orcas are now moving out and assaulting these forward positions here. Also, laser turrets on the war, not really a good idea, because pretty much any naval vessel can outrange the laser towers. A single narwhal has been constructed here for Marshall, but that's not going to be enough against these guys. Because you gotta bear in mind that Orcas have been built as a naval superiority vessel in the early stages of the game. And yeah, the DPS that can be pumped out by a narwhal is not enough to break through the armor that is on an Orca. First Orca now going to be up for Marshall. He's going to be able to take out this first one here because it's been damaged, but any other Orcas are just going to be too much to actually counter. And it doesn't look like he has the intel. No, he has no radar. Radar is still under construction, so that means that this one can still be alive and assault this base, which is going to be very deadly because the range of these guys is going to be enough to assault most of this base. He's building an advanced air factory further inland, which is pretty much the only option he has because he's going to lose this base. Unless he can get some early air superiority out, that's going to be quite the issue. And we now have some air patrols going on by these hummingbirds. Furthermore, we have additional metal being constructed here for Void. So Void, even though he's on his own, is doing rather well. Then again, Deadlystrike is going completely uncontested. He's building his base in complete peace, and that is very good for him because later in the game he's going to be quite deadly against Void here. The commander is now under attack for Marshall. Commander is going to try and take out these naval vessels. And although these naval vessels do outrange Commander, they don't seem to be going away. No, they are continuing to fire at Commander from close range, which is not the most ideal thing you want to be doing. The advanced naval factory is pretty much in the early stages of construction, so it's going to take quite a while for this one to finish. And the Commander did do what he set out to do. He actually managed to keep this base alive and keep that early aggression, naval aggression, away from his base. So it's going to be an advantage in later stages of the game that he actually managed to do that. Because it's quite the amount of metal that just got destroyed there for Master Void. Oh, and this is going to be problematic for Void. So there's a radar already up. And oh, Void, we shouldn't underestimate him. He noticed that there was something going on. He noticed that there's an air turret going on. So he's sending in some bombers to actually deal with this. The Bumblebee wants to go for the Faber first, which he is doing right now. So Faber down. And new Faber is coming in and it's probably going to finish this air turret, which means that this base is going to be quite a bit hard to attack. Meanwhile though, yeah, so that's the end of that bomber. And the end of the division, so this one can actually now start working on the Pelter. And the Pelter is an artillery station which can fire on most of this base. So the question now really has become how fast can Void finish his factory? Because as soon as he finishes that factory, he can get Leviathans, he can get Stingrays, and he can combat anything that's around this little ocean of his quite a bit easier. But right now he doesn't have the range to deal with this. It looks like we have more Fabers and tanks moving out. These are not that useful against this base. The tanks might be able to shoot the air factory if they are positioned around this area. Might even try and take out the metal spots around this area. But I assume he's sending them over mostly to support this push here on his base. So especially the spinners, which are the air vehicles, well, anti-air vehicles, could potentially keep this relatively safe. And it looks like, yeah, there's a Pelter here as well. So it's starting to look rather bleak for Void. I mean, there's not much he can do to assault these positions, especially now that there's that Pelter in the game. The advanced air factory is now up for Marshall, and he's going for Kestrels first. Kestrels, really good gunships. I mean, they are one of my favorite units if I go air. I do like the advanced Hornet bombers as well, but the Kestrels are so very potent because they don't have to turn around every time you try to hit something. So it's easy to micro those and keep them out of range from AA emplacements and then take out high value targets in hit and run style manner, which is very nice to do. Master Void, now realizing he's probably getting into trouble, is trying to rush out at advanced naval factory. Pelter is now in range of his base. The first one is turning around to actually start bombarding the base. The second one is under construction. And here comes the fire. Going for the metal spots. It's going to take about 3 shots for this metal spot to go down. He's sending out another bomber. These bombers might actually be able to... Oh no, the spinners are here. Never mind. He's keeping those blue balls out of range because he knows he cannot assault this base here. And we already have quite a number of gunships up. It looks like we have about 5-ish. Yeah, it looks like we have 5 gunships. There's 2 stacked on top of each other. He's also making an advanced vehicle factory on land, but it's the advanced naval factory that's gonna be the real game maker or breaker. If you can finish this and can get a Leviathan or a Stingray, I would assume he's going to be going Stingray first because that has an air superiority component about it, and that AA is going to be quite important. Leviathan does more damage, but the Stingray is just more useful for agility and keeping the base air free. So we will have to see what is going to become. We also have Orbital coming down here for Deadlystrike. And considering the fact that Void does not have any time to go Orbital, that's probably going to put him quite a bit ahead. What you do have to admire about Void here is that even though he's mostly confined to his base here, look at everything he has going on here. His secondary base over here is most of the metal in the sea. He's even expanding the metal northward. So he's all over the place. Marshall also has a secondary base. I assume he's trying to keep this out of range of any scouts that might come over it, because scouts are going to be mainly around this area. We also have tanks moving out, assaulting the metal spots of Marshall. So Void's still pretty much over the place. The naval factory is getting very near to completion. And this melt is pretty much dead. Looks like just one more shot on the money and that's going to be it for those metal extractors. So what's coming out of this naval factory? That is a question of the hour. And it's going to be a Stingray. As I would have expected. The Stingrays are going to help against these Kestrels. A single Stingray, of course, is not going to be able to take them all out because they are going to die rather quickly. But if he gets a number of these out, then that's definitely going to change things around. What is he building? He's building peregrines with this advanced air factory. And those peregrines are going to be really useful. More metal coming down here. No upgrades in sight for any of his economy buildings. I mean, there's no advanced power yet, no advanced metal extractors either. This advanced vehicle factory does seem to receive some rushes. We have more bot factories going down. Advanced energy plants now coming down here for Marshall. No advanced metal anywhere to be seen, no. So just advanced power and also some storage that he built around that area. No advanced economy either for Deadlystrike. Deadly seems to be focusing mainly on his artillery play that he's doing to bombard his base. He's even tacking on a catapult launcher, which is going to be even more deadly because it can take out most of his base. The first Stingray is finished. It's being followed up by the Leviathan. And yeah, this forward base is now finally going to get taken out. We have the Kestrels moving in. Kestrels are going to be coming from the south. No, west, well, west, no, east, sorry, east of this base. Somewhat hard to orientate yourselves on around the map. But the narwhals here are taking out most of them, and in combination with those hummingbirds, not much damage was taken there. What it did do, however, was give some scouting intel about what is in his base. Leviathan now also finished, and this forward base is now pretty much gone. Oh, look at that. These peregrines and a few kestrels are actually taking out the advanced air factory that was here. So very nice play here by Master Void. He noticed that that was there and he went straight for it. We have Avengers in orbit for Marshall. And nothing in orbit as far as I can see. No. Nothing in orbit as far as I can see for the R players. So weapons platform play could come into this game. What we also could be seeing is anything... well, anything power panel, solar panel related, those could be a factor, and anchors, of course, to maintain that orbital dominance. Yeah, this is going to be the end of this air factory, and the naval factory is going to be under attack now as well, yeah. So those are down. But that's relatively fine, because there's still quite a bit of map control here for Marshall, especially with that advanced air factory that he has here out of the way, and the metal spots that he has in this ocean, which he could potentially quite easily defend. We have a second Leviathan now on the field, and it looks like the Stingray and first Leviathan are moving to take out this bombardment position that is being quite a pain for his base. So that's most of the anti-air taken out there. That's the catapult now taken out as well. The advanced flak cannon, no, okay, so it's going for the catapult once more, but that was already destroyed. Now the turrets are under attack as well. So Marshall is achieving his naval superiority around his base and is taking out the bases that were harassing him early in the game. We have lots of spinners here, so an air attack on this base seems rather unlikely at this point. We have a new catapult coming up. We have quite a number of advanced power plants here. Advanced bot factory under construction as well, and ooh, that's nice. I think Master Void saw those orbital launchers and decided, well, what I need now is an orbital radar so I know what they are going to try and do to me. Yeah, these Kestrels are not going to be really that much of a factor. Peregrines took quite a number of shots, but looks like these spinners were quite smart and took out the Kestrels first. So yeah, that's only 2 pelters left, 1 pelter left, and these Stingrays and Leviathans took out the forward base here that was there. And we still have Norca here that's working on these power generators. Marshall is really quite doing badly economy-wise because he doesn't have the amount of metal that he wants. He has the metal in this ocean here, but that's about the extent of all the metal spots that he owns, and it's not enough to support the base that he has. Deadlystrike is doing very good. Void is somewhat struggling, but he's struggling with the energy production. He's not struggling as much with the metal. Metal, he's doing really good. And we have a nuke launcher being constructed here for Deadlystrike. So Deadlystrike might as well be striking very deadly sometime in the near future. Yes, bad pun there. No anti-nukes are being constructed anywhere. But nukes are going to be less dangerous to Void than you might assume. If you have several nukes, then yeah, sure. But a nuke now can only take out so much. I mean, if you launch a nuke here, that's most of the naval taken out, but that means you still have this base to deal with. That's pumping out air and that's pumping out bots. If you nuke here, then you take out most of the metal here as well. You could potentially also nuke here to take out this, but then you still have the naval to contend with. So no matter where he sends that nuke, he needs more than one to actually be dealing with this. It looks like some Kestrels are being sent in to deal with this power. Looks like Marshall is stabilizing metal-wise. Deadly is doing really well when it comes to his metal spots. He's got loads of them. I think he's even got some advanced metal spots. Yeah, he does. So in his base, the metal spots have been upgraded. And that's definitely helping him economy-wise. Looks like more power is being generated here for Void, because that's currently his main issue. He does have some advanced bot fabbers. Oh, what is this? Yeah, we have some aggression coming down here. So it looks like this base has been scouted, but he's sending out Kestrels and Peregrines to deal with this. And considering the fact that there's no AA up yet, this forward base is going to be taken out rather easily. The catapult, however, is something he will have to take out as well, because that's going to be quite a threat to his base. Catapults are so very potent to take out buildings at long range. And there goes catapult. So realizing that that would be a major threat, he went straight for it and took it out. Looks like it's still quite a while for this launcher to go online, and once it's online it still has to construct those nukes. And would you look at his navy, that's quite a number of Leviathans. So it definitely achieved the dominance I wanted to around this base here. Oh, and even got the metal spots in this ocean as well, or most of them anyway. There is some are some missile turrets that have been constructed here for Marshall, but regular missile turrets at this point in the game, not as good. Looks like we have a weapons platform, so we could see some commander sniping later on in the game, especially because Void did not build anything that can deal with this. Void is now building a nuclear launch platform himself, and is once more being attacked by catapults. The launcher has been built here, so slightly out of the way when compared to the previous one. Looks like, the orbital radar just went down as well. So it might be that he has no idea about the weapons platform play that Marshall is doing. We also have some orbital fabbers over the base here for Deadlystrike, but he doesn't seem to be doing anything with them so far. And these guys are just chilling out. They destroyed quite a bit from the energy production that Marshall had, and they're like, okay, we did our job. Before we get shut down, we want some R&R, and they are taking it. Yeah, more Leviathans coming out from that factory. This nuke is being rushed out. It's already halfway done, so unless something is done, that nuke is probably gonna be the game ender for Master Void. It's not gonna end it straight away, but if it goes on his commander and it's being followed up by some kind of aggression with Kestrels or something of the sort, that's definitely gonna be the end for him. I might have to consider moving his commander to an alternate location. He has now finished his own nuke, but it's not being rushed out as the nuke for Deadlystrike is. So nuke has now finished for Deadlystrike, and let's see if he is going to strike with it and be deadly. Yes, it is. Nuke is going straight for the main base. It's going for those. Yeah, it's going for the commander by the look at things. Might not land straight on it. Ooh, it's gonna be very close. Commander is definitely gonna eat the hit from that nuke. I think that's gonna be GG. So now the commander is pretty much defenseless. It took the hit. It's only got teensy sliver of health left, and the only defense that commander still has is this, this stingray here. Void complaining that the spawn sucked, and I do have to agree with him. He was sandwiched from the beginning of this game, and gotta admire him. He was playing 2 versus 1, but he was hanging on quite a bit. If it weren't for that nuke, he would have probably done quite a bit better, and if he had a better spawn location, he would have done better still. He's now rushing at his own nuke to retaliate, considering the fact that there's still no empty nukes up anywhere in this game. It might be very potent, but the issue is that there's already a new nuke being rushed at here by Deadlystrike, and it's already very near to completion. Commander is no longer moving and is actually in range of the same location as last time. And I think Deadlystrike knows that there's still quite a bit here. There are some Kestrels now moving in as well, so if those Kestrels actually, they spot Commander, and that's it. So Void played very well, but yeah, it's a 2 versus 1 and he had a terrible spawn, so he did very well, but I do believe the spawn did screw him over somewhat. And again, 2 versus 1, it's very hard to be hanging in there.